First Blood Podcast, Episode 8. Still no purple text or purple names, my bad. But anyways, I'm here with Deacon. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
All right. Well, real quick, let's talk about the postseason schedule. If you don't know, SKT, KSV, KT, Africa, and Kingzone all made it. We already knew that Kingzone was going to be first seed. We knew that from the beginning of this. Well, maybe not the first game, but like since like week 3, we had an idea that they were going to be first place. Then after that is going to be the Africa Freaks securing their second seed and playing in the semifinals. Then in the quarterfinals is going to be KT Rolster. They're going to be waiting for the winner of SKT versus KSV. Just to remind everybody, the first round is the wildcard match, always a best of 3, and then it'll be best of 5 from then on out. Anyways, let's talk about real quick the teams that didn't make playoffs. The Rocks, Tigers. Let me say the teams that didn't make playoffs that also weren't relegated. So Rocks, Tigers, Junior, and BBQ Olivers. What do they need to do next year to maybe get into the playoffs and not be stuck just doing nothing during the off season?
Um, yeah. Uh, Practice a whole bunch, Kappa.
Practice the whole bunch.
Uh, yeah, I think well, starting off with Rocks because they're highest up. They seem to be decent, like the best out of these three teams. Like they're the closest to playoffs form at the moment, and um, like generally if they try not to get picked as much, like a lot of the time, like later in the season they were getting picked or like just taking bad team fights, um, and that didn't really work out for them. Um, and I definitely feel like they should look to play around their bot lane a bit more. Like Sang Yoon is a lot better than than I expected him to be this season, and like hopefully if they can play around him, get him a few items earlier, then he can bring out carry performances like he has this split. Uh, what do you think?
For me, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Rocks needs to practice on their team fighting and their late game decisions. A lot of the games that they were losing in the mid to late game.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a problem for them. If they're looking to if they're looking to improve on a position, I would probably say that top lane is going to be the biggest place for improvement, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, top lane as well as support, both Key and Linderang. You can find better. Well, I'm not saying you can find. It's going to be hard to find better players, but there's room for improvement for those two positions. You can either work with them personally and see, what do we need to do to make you a better player, or you can just say, you know what, we're gonna go in a different direction for talent. Let's put somebody else in. But I want to talk about BBQ Oliver specifically. For a while, they looked like a relegation team. Um, and I didn't expect that out of them at the beginning of the season. Picking up Trick and picking up Ignar. These are two players who just did extremely well in the EULCS, appeared at Worlds multiple times, and I expected a lot more out of them for players who were some of the best. Well, Trick not as much as Ignar, but some of the best players in the EU. Now they're back in their homegrown region. Language barrier isn't going to be nearly as big as a problem. And they hardly avoided relegation. I honestly thought they were going to get relegated for a little bit there. So I think that for BBQ, for sure, Ghost needs to go. I think that's 100%. Ghost needs to.
yeah.
Someone needs to be at the ADC position besides him. He does not need to
Yeah.
be on an LCK team. Ghost needs to go and just maybe put more responsibility on Crazy because he's a great player. I would say, uh, honestly, to the level of like Kin and Smeb talent-wise. He's an extremely good top laner. I just think maybe put more responsibility in his hand and get a different ADC, and they should be good to go.
Yeah. Crazy. Like just like a tank player earlier, but like later on in the split, like his Camille was just murdering people left, right, and center. It was pretty insane. But I definitely agree with you that they should get rid of Ghost. Like looking at MVP, if they get relegated, Pilot and Maha might be good replacements for that
Oh yeah.
position. I don't know about Sol though on Kangdu Monster. Like, I think Ghost is a little bit better than Sol.
Yeah, I'd say it's about a tie, but for me, for sure, if MVP get relegated, they need to pick up Pilot. And
Yeah.
Pilot's problem doesn't rely with him. I think it relies with just his team.
Yeah, I think like out of like the two teams in LCK, if both get relegated, Pilot probably has the best chance of getting picked up by another team.
Yeah.
And possibly what is it? Roach. Roach is a pretty decent top laner.
Yeah, for sure. Roach is a great player.
Yeah.
Just bring Piglet back to Korea. Put him we just have LCS players that
oh no.
out of Korea and came back.
LCS Piglet is currently occupying a slot in the LCK retirement home at the moment.
Oh yeah, the SKT retirement home.
The SKT retirement home.
But
NA Challenger.
Let's talk about last and not least Jin Green Wings. So Teddy had an amazing year. We were actually talking about earlier different pinnacles that happened in the LCK and Teddy having two of them.
Yeah.
He for sure has hypercarry ability, but they're relying on him too much is the thing. As far as Jin Air goes, like they need to replace everybody. Except for Teddy. Just get everybody and Sohan. Sohan's okay. But just get everybody out of there except for Sohan and Teddy.
I think Justice is fine.
Yeah, starting Justice was probably the direction they need to go.
Although when thinking about it, I did note down for Jin Air that this team should probably just take 5 times Gathering TBH.
Exactly. Just take Gathering Storm on everybody.
Because even in the more aggressive, like 8.4, 8.5 games, they somehow managed to stretch games on past like 30 minutes.
Yeah, especially in a patch where you can have Banner the command
and
cannon minions, like take 10% of your tower health in one shot. Just let them get like 10 shots in, your tower's dead.
Yeah, but I think Justice, Teddy, Sofan, arguably Wraith as well. Like they're probably decent to keep. Maybe just get a different jungler in. But I'm not sure if like completely like stripping the team and then just building around Teddy is the best idea. Because while Teddy does have like great carry performances, like he's absolutely nuts once he gets to like 3, 4, 5 items. Like he hasn't looked like super great early as well. So I feel like that's sort of like you need to have an all-round good player to start building a team around. Like if you just take a mediocre player and build a team around them, like that just doesn't work. We've seen that in EU LCS and NA LCS with teams trying to build teams around Froggen.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that as an example. Whenever you build teams around players, you get Echo Fox.
Yeah, essentially.
Oh man.
Hey, like we had it worse in Europe because we had Elements, was it?
Oh,
and Alliance.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I mean, Alliance was like
Alliance
a super
was
team,
good,
so that doesn't.
But then they got
but, like
and
Elements was like a team built around Froggen that was super hyped, and it went nowhere.
Froggen, what is he even doing? Is he even on a team anymore? Isn't he just chilling in Korea?
He's streaming.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
the-
let's talk about playoffs though specifically. First of all, let's talk about SKT. They even though towards the middle of the season we talked about this is their identity, this is what they need to go with. They it looks like they didn't listen to us. They
yeah.
still were experimenting with different lineups. What do you think is the lineup that they need to take for playoffs?
I honestly feel like if they're going to take a lineup, it's going to be Sal, Blank, and Effort. Um, they looked pretty confident with it in the last few weeks of the split. It got them it got them results. I don't think that lineup really lost more than one series.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to double check that, but um, yeah, like it. But we've said that like you said multiple times about multiple different iterations of SKT. Like, oh, they're gonna play in Tara, Blossom, and Wolf, or oh, they're gonna play Blank and Dal and Wolf or whatever, or they're gonna play Wolf jungle, like that. Like,
For me, I think the lineup that they need to run, and hear me out here. Hear me out. Game 1 through 4, they run Thal, Blank,
1 through 4 of a
Bang.
best of 3.
Oh right, yeah, it's best of 3. So game 1 and game 2. Thal, Blank, Faker, Bang, Effort. But game 1 and game 2, and then game 3, you sub out Blank and you put Wolf in at jungle. And then for the rest of it, just game 1 through 4, lineup, and then game 5, just put Wolf in. He'll be
Wolf is the new Blank.
Match point, just put Wolf in.
Wolf is the new Blank.
Yeah, Wolf is the new Blank. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I, and I'm not joking there. That's what I honestly think they should do. I feel like that has potential. That lineup. But moving on from SKT, let's talk about now KSV. Now, something I want to say. I changed my name to this on the LCK Discord. I love watching Crown cry. I loved watching him cry at Worlds 2 years ago. And I loved watching him cry at the end of that match. I just have I had this cup right here. You hear this? It's full of Crown's tears. I've collected them throughout the years. Throughout his entire life, I've been there when he cried. I now have a cup full of his tears, and I drink them while I talk about LCK. But let's talk about their team morale overall. They were all pretty just distraught that they weren't going to make playoffs, and then they ended up making playoffs. Do you think that their morale, now that they thought it was over, they thought, oh, we're going to be sitting in the offseason just thinking of these what ifs, but now they actually get to see what these what ifs would be because they're going to make playoffs. Do you think that this sudden change of events is going to, empower them and motivate them in any way?
I don't think their morale after the Kingzone game was specifically just because they thought they lost. I think it's not only because they thought they lost, but they were really close to being Kingzone, and that was honestly really impressive, and that must have just absolutely destroyed them when they lost. So I feel like now that they're actually in playoffs, they have a good chance of at least beating SKT. And if they beat SKT, if they dominate SKT, 2 of them, then yeah, it's probably gonna they might even beat KT just off of the momentum. I think they do need to get that really. They do need to get their sort of emotions in check though, because sure. they did seem to be destroyed, and that's not good for any team going into playoffs.
Yeah, Faker crying at Worlds last year. The reason why to me that was such a big deal is that of course he's never lost in the finals before. That was a first for him. But he's had situations like that where he's lost important series, like the KT versus SKT a couple of years back. But even when he loses matches during the regular season, you can see that he's he's visibly phased, like he's affected by that loss, but he's never been like visibly sad or visibly angry. You just can tell, yeah, he looks like Faker lost, not like Faker won, but you can't really tell what emotion it is. But with Crown and KSV in general, whenever they lose, they look visibly upset at themselves. And yeah, like you said, their emotion, the morale is something that they need to control. But I think that their morale is going to push them. I think it's going to help them with SKT. I don't think they're going to beat SKT. I think it's going to be SKT, KT. Or, you know what? Actually, yeah. No, I'm going to go.
Rerun of the Telecom Wars.
KSV is going to beat SKT. Yeah, I think that morale is going to push them. But then it's going to be brought to a sudden halt whenever they play KT next round. But speaking of KT, let's talk about the one question. You know, on Reddit, on every AMA, there's someone always that asks tits or ass. So for LCK KT discussion, there's always going to be someone that asks UCal or Pawn. Who do you think it should be, UCal or
Pawn? Is that the question, or is the question at this point? I definitely think they're gonna start UCal. Like, they've had UCal for longer. They are not longer than Pawn, but longer than Rush. They've been playing him a lot in regular season. He's been showing up really hard in regular season. He's shown less mistakes than Pawn has previously. And he just seems to be a really solid player. Like, so I definitely think like they're gonna play Pawn. Whether they play Rush or not, that's still to be seen. I would love to see them play Rush, though. That would be great.
Okay, so here's what I think. As far as Rush starting, no chance. There's absolutely no chance. There's a reason they played him.
He's not going to start
a match because that match literally meant nothing. That match didn't mean a thing. But as far as UCal or Pawn, I'm honestly gonna say Pawn's gonna start just because of his against KS. No, let me say this: against SKT, no way. I think UCal's gonna start against SKT. But if it's against KSV, I think that they're gonna start Pawn just because against any team except SKT, they need Pawn's experience. But if it's SKT, I think I remember like Pawn was down like 22 CS against Faker. Last year's actually, because it was last time spring finals. He like was forced to back twice with no CS. But yeah, I think that as long as it's not against Faker, it's gonna be Pawn.
That's possibly true. I'm still like pretty behind UCal at the moment.
Yeah, I love UCal, but I mean, like, it's just for playoffs, experience matters a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I think like if they possibly lose games, if they lose like more than one game, they'll put in UCal because they have nothing left to lose. Depending on how Score does, they might also like he looked really, really good. Like he won a game on Lee Sin in LCK. That's not easy.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. But I don't know. I don't believe in the Rush hype. I never did. But speaking of junglers that should have hype, let's talk about one that should have hype. My boy Mowgli. Is he gonna play it in the playoffs? For this time, it's a best of 5 instead of the freaky usual wild card best of 3. Do you think that Mowgli's gonna see any playtime in the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I think like because at the moment Mowgli / Spirit are the like 2018 version of what was it, Peanut and Blank, or like Blank and Bengi, because Mowgli like plays, or he starts for Africa, and then if they lose a game, then Spirit gets subbed in, and it's a different experience for the enemy jungler. And Spirit seems to be really on form with like information at that point. Like, I think Mowgli will be played. He'll definitely be on starting lineup, because he seems to be just as solid as Spirit is. It's just I know, like maybe that information just really helps Spirit out or something like. But yeah, yeah, he should be played. Like, and I'm excited to see him being played, especially in a semi-finals match, because Africa haven't played that many best of fives in the past, and it's really exciting to see them get to that point.
For me, as much as I love Mowgli, and I know that Rat's gonna love to hear this. I know that he just loves Spirit, but as far as Mowgli goes, I think that he should avoid. I think that he should avoid playing him in the playoffs for one reason only, and that is I've talked about this before. The reason why I'm gonna have to suck it up and say that Spirit's a good jungler is because of his shot calling ability, and that's Africa's biggest strength is their team fighting and macro play and decision making. And I definitely think that taking Spirit out and putting in Mowgli instead turns them back to the team-based shot calling, and that obviously, well, not obviously doesn't work. It just doesn't work for them all the time. However, if they let Kuro shot call, I'm sure that would change if they just let him solo shot call. But still, the team shot call when Spirit's not in, and they let Spirit shot call whenever he is in. I think Spirit needs to stay. Mowgli, if they make it to MSI, let him play a few group stage games. Why not? But speaking of MSI, let's talk about the people who are probably like 99% gonna make it to MSI. Kingzone Dragon X. And let's actually talk about that. Do you think that their victory is certain in the finals? Do you think this is going to be the team to represent Korea at MSI?
No, I don't think they're completely infallible. Like, um, they've lost to basic, or they've dropped games to people like KSV. They've dropped series to people like Barbecue. So they're not a completely like undefeatable team. They're not um, impervious to harm. So I don't think it's completely certain. I think it's very likely.
In total against KSV, aren't they 3-2? Because KSV
Uh,
swept them first match, right?
I believe they are, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, KSV's already beat them in a best of five. They could do
Yeah.
it again.
If KSB get to finals, then like has like the match has already been fixed. No, like they they do seem like one of the best Korean lineups that we've had, like at least in the last couple of years, um, especially since like it's basically the same lineup uh, as last year's Longzhu, but also with Peanut, and everybody thought, oh, Longzhu are gonna win Worlds, so I think like it's pretty it's pretty likely that they're gonna go to MSI. I would really love them to see them at MSI, but if they don't, then I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, for me, I think the only way that Kingzone are gonna not make it, and I talked about this with you earlier. If KT managed to make it to the finals,
Yeah,
I think that KT can beat KSV.
yeah.
Um, I think that that's the only way Kingzone can lose. But on that note, let's talk about bold prediction of the episode. That's actually going to be my bold prediction is that KT Holster is going to
Don't
win
you
the LCK.
don't you believe in your Africa freaks?
I'm saying that if they beat Africa, they will win. Now, that's a big if. If they beat Africa. Otherwise, I don't see anybody beating Kingzone. It has to be KT that makes it. But they're going to lose to Africa anyway.
I feel like Kingzone's biggest weakness right now is themselves.
Yeah.
Like if they lose, then it's gonna be off of their own backs. Because they seem to have like really sick macro as well right now, so you can't even beat them in that variety. So that's basically KSV's entire one gone.
What's gonna be your bold prediction of this episode?
I'm gonna say SKT are gonna get semifinals.
SKT semifinals. Okay.
Yeah. they're gonna not 3-0, but they're gonna like what 3-2 KT.
So you think it's gonna be the Freaka curse that comes into play for SKT?
It's gonna be the SKT curse that comes into KT, and it might be the Africa curse. I think Africa are just a better team, so I don't think that's really a curse.
That's true. Anyways, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye here and First Blood Podcast. Also, a reminder: MVP did not beat SKT, so Herbs will not be joining us on April 1st. But don't
Rest
worry,
in pepperonis.
we still got stuff planned. We still got stuff planned.
Yep.
Anyways, adios.
See ya.